symptoms of stress, depression, and addiction, all caused by lack of spirituality. He dedicated his life to the cause of sharing spiritual wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita under the aegis of ISKCON. Prabhuji travels all over the world, from Australia to America, giving talks on spiritual subjects in universities and companies like Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, Cambridge, Intel, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. Chaitanya Prabhu is the author of the world's only Gita daily feature, wherein he pens down a 300-word inspirational reflection on a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Till now, he has written over 1,700 Gita meditations that are posted on his website, gitadaily.com. He also answers questions by seekers on his site, thespiritualscientist.com, where his over 3,500 audio answers and several hundred articles are available. Prabhuji also writes very frequently for many national dailies. He is a member of ISKCON's leading intellectual body, the Shastrik Advisory Council, and he is the associate editor of ISKCON's global magazine, Back to Godhead. Prabhuji is also the author of 25 books. The names are available on his website, and the link of all his other articles and audio lectures and question and answers are also available. So thank you very much once again, Chaitanya Prabhu, for joining us this morning. You have a very busy schedule, and we are again very grateful to you for giving time to ISKCON Connecticut this morning. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Dhanyavad. Hare Krishna, should we start now or we'll have Kirtan now for some time first? What is the plan?
Prabhuji, I think the plan is to start Srimad Bhagavatam class at 8 a.m. and I stole your 1 minute.
Okay, sure. So directly we start. We don't have a...
Right. Prabhuji, we launched your video. You would like to share, your video or?
Okay, just a minute.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Is my audio clear?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, audio is clear.
Just a minute. So should I start the class now?
Yes, Prabhuji, you can start the class.
Okay, perfect. We have 45 minutes or 1 hour. How much is the time?
45 minutes, Prabhuji, and then 15 minutes for question answers.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I'm grateful to be here with all of you today, and I'll be sharing a PowerPoint where we'll be discussing about Radharani and Krishna. Especially we'll talk on the theme of Radhastami, and so the theme we'll discuss is love at first sight, or the first sight of love. I'll discuss this in broadly three parts. First is what is love, current understanding and misunderstanding. Then I will talk about how divine love is manifested in the Radha Krishna relationship. And then after that, I'll talk about how that divine love can inform means form internally, can inform our love. So we have Radhastami coming, and Radhastami is ultimately the festival of the appearance of the deity of devotion, the one who embodies the greatest love for the Lord. So before we can go into that understanding, let's look at love. What do we understand by love? So most often, say for people, their way to understand concepts is to Google the concepts. So if we ask about love, we might say that they will look at romance, and there are some images of romantic relationships. That's what people equate with love. But quite often what happens with this love is it is largely hormonal attraction. It's based on some kind of physical attraction, or even some kind of, we might be attracted to certain features, character traits of a person, but it's largely driven by hormones. And that's why nowadays relationships are unstable. Psychologists have studied it a bit, and they say that romance has a shelf life of 9 to 18 months. If at all a relationship starts clicking and it goes forward, the hormonal attraction that some people feel when they're in the presence of someone will say, oh, it was love at first sight. It might be there in sometimes some people have some chemistry. So, but that chemistry is not the basis for a long lasting relationship. It deteriorates. That hormonal stimulation that happens in our brain doesn't last for very long. Now, if you want to understand that there is love and there is lust, sometimes the two can look very similar, and sometimes we can make a very rigid differentiation between the two. Physical attraction is lust and spiritual attraction is love. It's not that simple. If you want to understand the difference, what we could say is that love is where I care for you. Sorry. So what is the difference between lust and love? Lust is where I care for you because I need you. That means you are fulfilling some need of mine, and that's why I have some interest in you. I care for you. So lust is primarily I-centered, whereas love is the other person-centered. I need you because I care for you. Because I care for you, I want to express that care. And if you're not in my life, how will I express that care for you? So in that sense, although the two look similar, the difference is not simply based on biological attraction or physical attraction. Our acharyas often talk about subtler dimensions of lust. The hunger for power is also a form of lust. So if like often we also use the word lust for power sometimes. So here what is it? So if somebody wants to control the other person, and they get very angry when the other person doesn't listen to them, does something different from what they're told to do. Now that anger, now how does anger arise? We know that when karma is frustrated. Then Krodha is Kama Nuja, is the younger brother of Kama. So when Kama, after Kama comes Krodha. So whenever we find, whenever somebody is a control freak in a relationship, now they may say, I'm doing all this for your good, but still they're overtly controlling the other person, and they're doing it in such a way that when the other person doesn't listen to them, and then when the other person disobeys them, then they go wild. So that is lust. So Hiranyakashipu's relationship with Prahalad, normally we won't think of lust in a parent-child relationship, but that was Hiranyakashipu had that lust for power, based on which he wanted everyone to submit to him. And I need you to offer respect to me. I need you to venerate me, to worship me. And when you do something opposite, when you start worshipping the person who I consider my enemy, that is Vishnu, then I can destroy you. So I care for you because I need you. And if you don't fulfill my need, then get lost. In fact, not only get lost, go to hell and I will send you to hell. I will destroy you. So we can see this in the relationship of Kamsa and Devaki. Kamsa was caring for Devaki, that he had become her charioteer. But what happened? At one moment, he was her charioteer and he was caring for her. But why was he caring for her? He wanted to create a public image of what a dutiful brother I am, how much I care for my family and my sisters. But then, when he heard that her son is going to, her eighth son will be killing him, then he was ready to lop off her head. So, if you don't fulfill my need, rather you become a threat to the fulfillment of my need, then I can destroy you. So, this, in contrast, when there is love, the need comes later, the care comes first. I need you because I care for you. So, say, consider parent-child relationship. Now, parents need their children to act in particular ways. For a child's growth, the child has to maybe study, discipline oneself, learn to be clean, learn to regulate one's activities. All that is a part of growing up, disciplining. And then I care for you and therefore I need you. So essentially, the caring, so in the language construction, need is coming first, but actually in the relationship, care comes first. Because I care for you, therefore I need you. So I need you to do your studies now. I need you to do that. But so need and care are both there in a relationship. And both are, so what do I mean by need and care? See, basically every relationship is reciprocal. That we do something for the other person and the other person does something for us. So care is what we offer to the other person. And need is what we get from the other person. So there is the reciprocation is always there in the relationship. But what is the primary thrust of the reciprocation? If it is I-centered, then it is lust. If it is the other person-centered, then it is love. And quite often now, if we consider, say, romantic relationship, we start with love at first sight. Well, it could be. Now, what is it? Can there be love at first sight? Well, we don't know. The test will be what happens after many sights. Initially, you fulfill my need to feel stimulated, to feel attracted, to feel privileged to be with someone. And that's good. But what happens after it deteriorates? Do I still care for you or I stop it? So this is a, if we consider this when it is expanded to Krishna, which we'll discuss later on, then that is pure love. So we have love in various relationships and we have lust also in various relationships. We cannot say that lust is only between the male female biological kind of or physical kind of attraction. That's there. But if we see in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna talks about lust, when Arjuna's question is very universal in 336. When he's asking, Athakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichanapi varishneya baladivani ojitaha. So he's asking, what makes us do wrong things? So he's talking about the self-destruction button that is there inside us. It's a very general question. Krishna answers it is kama and krodha. Kamesha, krodesha. So when we become I-centered and we want the whole world to serve us, to be controlled by us, and so that it will satisfy our need, it will satisfy our cravings, then that is lust. So we can move forward. And this, to summarize this, lust is self-centered, love is centered around the object of our love. Love is beloved centered. Now, if we consider, is there love in this world? Well, yes, there is love, but that love doesn't last. Any love that is disconnected from Krishna, Krishna is the source and shelter of all love. And if any love is disconnected from him, that love has two problems. First is it doesn't endure, and it doesn't fulfill for long. It doesn't endure. Why not? Because our relationships in the world are temporary. Even if somebody stays lifelong, but eventually that separates us. So it doesn't endure, and it doesn't fulfill for long, because often there's the law of diminishing returns. Because the things which attract us to the other person, especially if it's more toward lust rather than love, then it will, the law of diminishing returns will apply much faster. The attraction, the relationship will go down very rapidly. So Srila Prabhupada in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu states that our love is meant to expand toward the source. Of initially, a small baby just loves oneself. A baby is not even aware of the mother's existence. The baby simply cries when he or she feels uncomfortable, and then when the baby gets to suckle the mother's breast, may not even be aware that this is a person who loves me. Okay, this is just something soft. From this something soft comes, and I feel good by that. But as the baby grows, so the baby, now normally we won't consider babies as selfish in the sense of negatively self-centered. It's just that their consciousness not developed enough to think of anyone else. So they are self-centered because their consciousness itself is so diminished, and they cry at any time. They disturb everyone, but then others take care of them. Then the family take care of them. But if a teenager starts throwing temper tantrums at midnight, then the adults will not approve that, because your consciousness is developed enough to consider that, okay, there are others in the house, they are at a hard day's work, they're sleeping, we can address this issue tomorrow. So our love is meant to expand. And if it doesn't expand to Krishna, then it doesn't endure, it doesn't fulfill for long. So it may fulfill for some time. And rather than saying the love in the world is false, we can say that it's a drop of the love that is there in our relationship with Krishna. And if a drop can attract us so much, how much can Krishna attract us? So Krishna is what? He's Rasaraj. He's a Sabasukha Sagar, Sabaguna Agar. He's a Prema Sagar. He's the ocean of love. Why? He's the source and the shelter of all love. From him, all love emanates, and to him, all love is meant to be directed. Now, when we talk about divine love, what do we mean by divine love? The defining characteristic of love for Krishna is selflessness. That it is centered on Krishna and service to Krishna. So the gopis, when they love Krishna, it's centered on selflessness. We'll come to these points a little later. So now what our tradition offers is not just divine love, but divine romance. That it is the most intimate form of love for the divine. Various religious traditions across the world, if they are theistic, they talk about God and love for God. But it is our tradition that talks about love in a personal, intimate, like a romantic relationship. That is the original love, and the love in this world is a reflection. So what does this mean? So here, Love in the intimate relationship, if you want to understand this, this is what we will see. Sorry. Yeah. So there are 5 rasas which are described in our Bhakti Shastras. And these 5 rasas are actually centered primarily on Krishna. And let's understand this a little bit more. So, if we have attachment to Krishna, that is Shantaras. In Shantaras, everybody is attracted. The Shantaras is often embodied in, say, the trees, which they're characterized by complete trees in spiritual world, trees in Goloka, trees in Vrindavan, that are characterized by complete attachment to Krishna and complete detachment from matter. However, that attachment manifests itself as passive admiration. Oh, Krishna is so wonderful, Vishnu is so wonderful. That's Shantaras. Then there is Dasyaras. So now this attachment to Krishna is like the common denominator in all rasas. If you can see here, this white is there in all. So the next rasa builds on the previous rasa. So the yogis who meditate on Vishnu, for example, dhyana vastita tadgate na manasa pashyantiyam yogino. Those who meditate on Krishna in this way, they are actually fully absorbed in Krishna. And when they're absorbed in Krishna, they just think Krishna or Vishnu, he's so awesome, he's so great. What can I do for him? He's completely full, he's complete in himself. So that's Shantaras. In Dasyaras, yes, there is an acknowledgement that Krishna is all complete, but at the same time, I want to do something for him. Although he doesn't need anything, I want to serve him in some way. I want to express my care for him, my love for him by doing something for him. So that is Dasyaras. Now, service attitude is also like a common denominator in all relations, all rasas, subsequent rasas also. But then, beyond that, there is, in the Sakhyaras, there is friendship. So, friendship is often involving a certain sense of equality. So, Hanuman, he always thinks of serving Krishna, but Hanuman can never imagine that Ram will ever carry him. But Krishna's friends like Shadama, Madhumangal, if they defeat Krishna in a wrestling match, then they expect Krishna should carry them. And sometimes they carry Krishna. So friendship involves a certain level of equality. So what is happening in each of these relationships, that although there is an awareness of the greatness of God, that awareness of greatness is subordinated to an appreciation of God's personal sweetness. Yes, I want to do something for him, and he's a cowherd boy. He's like me. I want to be a friend with him. Now, beyond friendship is parental concern. That is Vatsalyaras. So Vatsalyaras means, now when friends are playing, they won't bother so much. Okay, it's time to eat food. Some if they feel hungry, they will eat. But if they're playing, their concern is more on playing. And if it's lunchtime, no, let's play this game first. But parents are concerned about the well-being. And Mother Yashoda may call, Krishna, stop playing now, come back home, you have to eat your food. So there is a greater concern for the well-being. And that concern, this parental concern itself inverts the normal relationship. Normally, we expect God to be like the father who takes care of us. Vatsalyaras, the normal hierarchy is inverted. That is parental concern. And then beyond that, we have intimacy. Intimacy is the direct personal relationship between us and Krishna, where the gopis and especially Radharani, they treat Krishna as their intimate object of love. Now, even in this, now we may wonder, in intimacy, that parental concern is there. Well, it's not in the parental mood, but that concern is there. Say, for example, the gopis worry, what if a thorn pierces Krishna's foot? Now, if a friend is there and you get while playing, kids, especially male kids, like to play games like rough and tumble, where sometimes you get some bruises. And if there's a bruise, then the other kids will say, don't be a baby, come on, rise up and play. They won't take the wounds very seriously. The parents will take it. Hey, you got a bruise. We have to maybe dress it, we have to clean it, we have to apply some medication to it, whatever. So the gopis, their relationship is much more intimate, and that's why we see that their concern for Krishna is there, parental, but beyond that, there is a special intimacy that comes in seeing Krishna as their object of love. So now in the Madhurya, so these are the broad gradations of love, and in Madhurya Ras also, there are different degrees of intimacy. And the most intimate among all of Krishna's relationships is the relationship with Radharani. Now, why is it most intimate? Let's look at it. Many of us know this pastime. So this is Krishna meeting Radharani for the first time, and Radharani seeing Krishna for the first time. So this is the first sight of love. So I would like you to visualize this, because sometimes we as devotees, we hear the story, but the stories of Krishna Lila are not just meant to be heard. They're not meant to be heard for entertainment. They are meant to be heard for entering into them. To enter into, not just to be entertained. So how do we entertain? How do we enter into them? Now, if we can use our imagination in Krishna's service. We can visualize. So if we were fortunate enough to be one servant, one of the servants in the house of Radharani, in the house of Kirtida. So what would we see at that time? Let's try to visualize that, and we will try to get a better sense of this pastime. So this is a maid servant of Kirtida and Rishibhanu. She says, there is excitement in the house today because Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, along with their family, they're coming for the first time to the house of Rishibhanu and Kirtida. Rishibhanu and Kirtida, they are the in charges of the village of Barsana. But Barsana is a part of Vrindavan, and Nanda Maharaj is the head of it all. So he's the head coming to our house. And not only is the official head, but they have a personal, affectionate relationship. So the whole house is astir with activity. Everywhere there is a festive atmosphere. There's decorations, there are festoons, there is music, there is celebration. And here, Krishna, little Krishna is entering into the house. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda are there. Nanda Maharaj and Vrishabhanu embrace each other. Kirtida and Yashoda embrace each other. And Krishna is playing. Krishna is looking around. He says, this is a small boy. Just looks around. What is there for me to play over here? The adults are busy in their work. And Krishna looks here, looks there, and Krishna says, oh, what is he seeing? Where is he going? Oh, he's seeing there's a bassinet over there. Krishna says, I also have a bassinet like this. Let me see who is there in this bassinet. And Krishna moves. Krishna sometimes walks, sometimes crawls. And Mother Yashoda is watching Krishna. For a mother, the baby, especially a newborn baby, she can't tolerate how far that baby going far away. And as Krishna moves towards Radha, the whole house falls silent. Everybody's eyes, although they are all meeting each other, Krishna is the captivator of the hearts of everyone. And everybody's eyes are on Krishna. And when they see Krishna quietly moving toward Radharani, Krishna is not deliberately trying to be quiet as a small child. No, almost a baby, he's in his own world. But he's so captivating that everyone's attraction is toward him. And although there is a celebration for Rishibhanu and Kirtida that there are guests in their house and such loving, lovable, venerable guests, but there is also deep sorrow in their house. There's a deep fear that although their baby has been born for many days, she hasn't opened her eyes and she has remained largely inactive. Is something wrong with the baby? When they had called the priest, the Vaidyas, and the Brahmins, they said nothing is wrong with the baby. But we don't know why she's not opening her eyes. So there is that secret sorrow in their hearts. But still, when they see Krishna going closer and closer to Radha, their hearts are filled with joy and anticipation. And then Krishna rises up. He's crawling and he holds the bassinet and he climbs up. And he climbs up and he peers down. He's a small child and children want to know, are there any other children I can play with? And Krishna looks up and Krishna looks into the bassinet. And as soon as he looks into the bassinet, wonder of wonders, for the first time, baby Radha opens her eyes and she sees Krishna. And there's a very bright smile on her face. And Krishna sees Radha and Radha sees Krishna. And when Kirtida and Vishwabhanu see that Radha has opened her eyes, they're besides themselves with joy. Their worries disappear, their sorrows disappear, and they rush forward. They realize this is a miracle that has been somehow done by Krishna. Radha, what was it? Why didn't she open her eyes till now? Why has she opened her eyes just now? And as these two babies are looking at each other, it is as if no one exists in the world. It's only Radha beholding Krishna and Krishna beholding Radha. And seeing them lovingly beholding each other, the hearts of all the observers in the family, it melts, it warms. Yes, this is an extraordinary bond of love. What is going to happen in the future is manifested, is prognosticated here. Radha is meant for Krishna, Krishna is meant for Radha. And Radha's love for Krishna is so much that she wants, when she comes in this world, her first sight to be Krishna. She doesn't want to see anyone other than Krishna. Krishna is her Lord, Krishna is her life, Krishna is her light. And when she wants to see the light of the day for the first time, what she wants to see is not the light of the day, but the light of the universe, the light of all of existence, her beloved Lord. And it is that Lord whom she sees in front of her. And such is the wonderful, loving interaction between Radha and Krishna. Although they are babies, their bond is already intense. It is an eternal love which starts manifesting right from their first meeting. Such is the beauty of Radharani's love for Krishna, that she wants to see no one except Krishna. So here we see Radharani is Gaurangi, and Krishna is Shamanga. And there Shama and Gaura Varnas come together in a festival of love.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sorry to interrupt you. Your voice is a little low, Prabhuji.
Right now or throughout?
No, I mean for like last 2 minutes maybe.
I think it was longer than that.
Sorry? Now is it better?
You seem away from the microphone, Prabhuji.
Well, is it better now?
A little, Prabhuji.
When I'm in the same position as throughout. Okay, is it better now? I'm speaking a little louder.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So do you want me to repeat anything, or you got the gist of it and you just want me to continue?
You start.
Go ahead, Prabhuji.
I was going to say start from the beginning, but I'm just joking.
Haribol Prabhu, Dandavad. Nice to hear from you. Oh. My God, my mic was not plugged in. It's pathetic. Is it better now?
Yes.
Much better.
Oh God. My mic was there, but it had not gone into the hole. Sorry about
But
that.
we could still hear everything though.
Okay. So I was talking about how the love between Radharani is the first sight of love. And while this story is itself very sweet and revealing of Radharani's love for Krishna, but it's also instructive for us. Now, so we will discuss the last part of our talk. I talked first about the current understandings and misunderstandings of love as contrasted with lust. Then I talked about how there is highest love manifested in the Radha Krishna relationship. And then we will talk about how their love can inform and transform our love. So what does it mean? So essentially, we see devotion not just as an emotion, but as cultivation. So what Radharani indicates, see, in the world people want someone with whom they can relate, love at first sight. But what Radharani is telling, let the first sight be the one of the object of love. So for as devotees, when we wake up in the morning, the first thing we do is we offer prayers. We are remembering Krishna. Some devotees, as soon as they wake up, they may look at a picture of Krishna and fold their hands. Some devotees may recite some verses. So let our first day, our first sight, our first sound, first sensory perception be about Krishna. And we may not feel like that in the mornings, but that's the cultivation. So when we cultivate like that, so devotion is a cultivation. And when that cultivation happens, what happens? Then gradually, all our relationships right now may be permeated with some amount of lust, some amount of love. So if you remember the earlier diagram I talked about, so right now there might be, we need the other person, that's why we care for them, or we care for them because of which we need them. We don't know. But gradually what will happen? As we become purified, initially our need for that person is greater. And if that person fulfills our need, then I care for you. Otherwise, I don't care for you. That would be lust. But gradually this weighing scale will shift. And we will care for that person. We will need that person so that we care for them. Our care is primary. And even if that person doesn't fulfill our need, so then also we will continue loving them. Srila Prabhupada would tell, like when some of his close disciples somehow had some difficulties and left, and later on they came back, Prabhupada said, every single day I was praying to Krishna for you. He's such a nice boy. When will he come back to me? So at that time, that person was not doing any service to Prabhupada. So we could say Prabhupada had a need that he wanted to spread Krishna's mission. And in that, the devotees were assisting. But even when somebody was not fulfilling a need, Prabhupada still cared for them. So that is love. Now what happens is, when we connect with Radharani, when we connect with Krishna, our heart starts becoming purer. And when we learn from Radharani, explains, she is the bestower of pure love. And pure love essentially means that it is centered on caring for the other person. It is centered not on what that person will do for me, but what I can do for the other person. That's how purification happens. The purer we become, then all our relationships move from lust to love. So this is not just the relationship with Krishna and relationship with the divine couple is important, but purification is not just about how we relate with the divine couple. It is how we relate with everyone. And Radharani is the bestower of pure love. The more we get her mercy, the more we get her mercy as is manifesting through the devotees who are devoted to her, the more all our relationships will become richer. Now here is an important point to understand. This itself is a whole subject, but I'll mention it briefly. That when we talk about cultivation, there is some amount of discipline required. So there is today the idea that love means freedom. Well, it is true at one level. But love itself is not the same as freedom. Actually, when people say free love, there was a free love revolution in the 1960s, where people said, why do people need to get married? They can just relate with anyone. But what happened by that? It just led, free love is an oxymoron. You can't have love is a bond. When we love someone, we connect with that person. We offer ourselves to that person offers us to us. And a bond means there is some limitation. So the free love revolution, as it was called, it simply ended in enslavement to lust. Now today, for many people, they just don't have any enduring relationships. They just use each other to scratch an itch. And when that itch comes, they have to find someone to scratch that itch. So they have, in the name of free love, people end up being enslaved by lust. So yes, there is freedom in love. That means if we love someone, we let that person go free. But if we want love, then we have to voluntarily curtail our freedom. In fact, within love and freedom, for say, if A is want to relate with B, then A needs to give B freedom. But if B wants to relate back with A, then B needs to be willing to curtail one's freedom so that there can be a deepening of love. So in fact, we can say love is the purpose and perfection of freedom. Freedom is not a value in itself. It's important as a value, but we want freedom for what? We want freedom to love. And so love is the purpose of freedom, and love is the perfection of freedom. Somebody can have freedom. Say, suppose somebody's an alcoholic and they have gone to a de-addiction center, where their freedom is restricted so that they can become free from the addiction. But if they get freedom, I don't want to stay in this de-addiction center. Well, they'll have freedom, but by freedom, they will just intoxicate themselves more and they will ruin it. So freedom has a purpose and freedom has a perfection, and that is love. But to get to that love, we need to curtail our freedom. And that is where the rules of Bhakti Yoga come in. The rules are not the deprivers of love. The rules offer us a pathway to move toward love. So when we cultivate love for Krishna, when we cultivate love for Radha, for the divine couple, then we do it by expressing love according to the rules that are given. So the rules themselves are not important. The love that is being expressed through the rules, that is important. Now, bhakti has two aspects to it, especially bhakti that is expressed in a community. There is loving Krishna and there is loving everyone in relationship with Krishna. So this means that now Radharani doesn't just love Krishna. Because she loves Krishna, she loves the other sakhis. She cares for those sakhis. It is not she alone wants to enjoy with Krishna. She wants all of them also to relate with Krishna, to be with Krishna. So for all of us, as our bhakti grows, both these grow together. Now we do seva, we do our sadhana, that is our attempt to directly love Krishna. And we do various services where we relate with various devotees, various family members who may not right now be devotees, but we do it also with a service attitude. And then by that, we are growing in our service attitude, which is one of the foundations for love. So Radharani, she does both. She loves Krishna and she loves her sakhis in relationship with Krishna. She loves Yashodama, she loves everyone in relationship with Krishna. So Radharani's blessings can help us deepen both these forms of love for us. And Srila Prabhupada embodied Radharani's mood of selfless service. Now, how is selfless service? Now, Prabhupada could have enjoyed Krishna himself in Vrindavan. He had love for Krishna, and Krishna was manifested in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada could have stayed there. But Prabhupada left Vrindavan. Why? Because he cared for all the souls outside Vrindavan. And it was his love for them because of which he left Vrindavan. Of course, it is only external vision to say that Prabhupada left Vrindavan. Actually, Prabhupada carried Vrindavan with him in his heart. And wherever he went, if he met sincere devotees, if he met eager devotees, then in that association, he manifested Vrindavan. So Prabhupada shows an example that it is not just about loving Krishna. It is about loving Krishna and loving everyone in relationship with Krishna. So now, how does the transformation happen in our hearts? That initially we see our heart and our life as a seva kshetra, that we focus on service. We may not experience any emotions. Say we go to the temple and we do some assist in the deity worship. But if we keep doing this seva, gradually the rasa will start manifesting. When we see the deities, we'll feel so much joy. We keep reading the Bhagavad Gita, we keep reading the Bhagavatam. Then when we hear about Krishna Lila in the Bhagavatam, when we hear some verses on the Bhagavad Gita recited, we'll start experiencing rasa. The love will manifest as a cultivation. The cultivation of the heart is done through seva. So our heart right now, we have to cultivate seva within that, and seva kshetra, the area of service, will change into the area of rasa for us gradually. And Radharani's blessings, I said we conclude that may our first sight and sound every day be Krishna. May he be our most prominent sight and sound throughout the day, every day. Just as she opened her eyes for the first time and saw Krishna, so may we every day he be our first sight and sound, and not only just at the start of our day, but throughout our day. We may have to see and hear many things, but may he be the sound and the sight, the sensory perception that registers most prominently in our heart. In this way, if by the blessings of Radharani we cultivate Krishna Bhakti, then we will be enriched with love for Krishna by the end of our lives, and we will attain Krishna's abode thereafter. That will be the supreme blessing of Srimati Radharani for all of us. So I'll summarize. I spoke today on the topic of Radharani's love, not love at just love at first sight, but the first sight of love. So love is a often used word, but love is often equated with say romantic love, which is hormonal attraction, which is temporary, and it lasts from 9 to 18 months or whatever. Then we discussed love and lust. What is the difference? Love is where I need you because I care for you. That means the care comes first, need comes later. And lust is where because I need you, so I care for you. So it is self-centered. And this lust can permeate all relationships, the parent-child relationship, the teacher-student relationship, the boss-subordinate relationship, anything. So it's not just physical. And then then how does what is the nature of the love between Radha and Krishna? It's the most intimate form of self-love. And we discussed the bar graph, how the love increases Shantaras's attachment to Krishna. Adding to that, in Dasyaras's service attitude, in Sakhyaras's friendship, in Vatsalyaras's parental concern, and in Madhuryaras is intimacy. And Radharani exhibits the highest intimacy. And we discussed the past time, we visualized Radha and Krishna meeting each other for the first time, where Radharani wanted to see no one but Krishna as her first sight. And that, her desire to have Krishna as the first sight, can be an inspiration for us for cultivating bhakti. So we see bhakti or love for Krishna not just as an emotion that springs up in our heart automatically, but also as something that we cultivate conscientiously, carefully. And how do we cultivate that? Was not just loving Krishna, but his love for Krishna meant that he wanted to love everyone in relationship with Krishna, give Krishna to everyone. And if we love Krishna through our sadhana, and then we do our various roles in our life in a mood of seva, then our heart will change from seva kshetra to rasa kshetra, where we'll start experiencing prema. And Radharani, we can pray to her for the blessings that may our first sight and sound every day be Krishna, and may the most prominent sight and sound for us every day throughout our lives also be Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions or comments?
Prabhuji, I have a question. For devotees, what is the difference between approaching Balram versus approaching Radharani to be engaged in service of Krishna? Like we generally hear these two paths. So what's the difference between them?
What's the difference between approaching Balram and approaching Radharani? So there are different devotees who may give different understandings for us. The key thing is that we understand that bhakti is personal. It's not just personal. We can say bhakti is radical personalism. Radical personalism means that every relationship of Krishna is not just it's a relationship between a person and another person. Krishna loves each devotee individually. So because Krishna loves, every cow has a name and Krishna calls every cow by that name. There is a personal relationship there. So at our stage, my understanding would be yena kena prakarena mana Krishna niveshayat. Somehow or the other, fix the mind on Krishna. So if we hear Balram's pastimes and we feel attracted by Balram's pastimes and we can remember Balram a lot, that's wonderful. If we feel attracted to Radharani's pastimes, we remember Radharani not in a sahajic way, but keeping her elevated position in mind, that's wonderful. The important thing is that we learn to fix our mind on Krishna and Krishna's various manifestations in a way that can maximize our remembrance of Krishna. So, of course, on specific days like say Balram Purnima or Radhastami, we'll naturally focus on that particular manifestation. Now, generally, we understand that Balaram is Guru Tattva. So, our spiritual master is a representative of Balramji. So, in that sense, whatever services we are doing at our level in this world, they are in the kshetra of Balramji. But at the same time, Prabhupada also said that his temples are not in the material world; they're in the spiritual world. We often say that the kitchen is the domain of Radharani. And Radharani not only serves Krishna, but she engages others in the service of Krishna also. So if the temples are in the spiritual world, then that is the domain of Radharani also. So these are technicalities where different devotees may give us different answers. The important thing is, at our level, the operational principle, yena kena prakarena mana Krishna niveshayat. So whether we get the mercy from Balaramji or we get the mercy from Radharani, the important thing is we fix the mind on Krishna and we respectfully use whatever way Krishna attracts us. We respectfully channel that attraction. So whether it is through Balramji, whether it is through Radharani, whether it is through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whether it is Nityananda Prabhu, somehow or other, fix the mind on Krishna and move forward. Okay, any other questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have one question. Like we are talking about the love, we have been knowing like there is conditional love and unconditioned love. You mean like conditional love is materialistic and unconditional love is spiritualistic?
Yes. Yes, conditional love means that, if you fulfill this need for me, then I love you. Okay. Let me take this in a deeper way. See, there is conditional love and there is, so is conditional love materialistic and unconditional love spiritual? Well, often terms have different meanings and we'll have to see what is meant by certain terms. So I would like to differentiate between conditioned love and conditional love. Conditioned means we all have certain conditionings. We are all conditioned beings. We are living in certain conditions. Say, for example, if a mother loves her child, but if the mother gets a fracture and she is bedridden, she has love for her children, but she can't do anything for them at that time. The condition limits the expression of love. So that is the case for all of us in the material world. In fact, it is not just in the material world. We are finite beings. Even in the spiritual world, we have the condition of finiteness. So it's not a conditioning, but it is a condition. Because we are finite. So when Krishna goes to the forest with the sakhas, then Yashoda Mai can't see Krishna at that time. Of course, she's seeing him inside her heart. So whether it is the material world where we have many conditionings, or just the fact that we are finite beings, that condition, that itself limits the way we can express our love in particular ways. Of course, we can always remember Krishna in our heart, but the point is that there is certain conditionings can limit our love, and that's just the way life is. So now that there's nothing to do, there's nothing to do with spiritual or material. Now beyond that, there is, so if our love is conditional in the sense that if you do this for me, and because you're doing this for me, I care for you. As soon as you stop doing this for me, I don't care for you. Then it's like almost use and throw. As long as you are of use to me, I care for you. And as soon as you stop being of use to me, I throw you away. That kind of use and throw love is conditional love. And we could say that is materialistic. And then unconditional love in the sense that whatever you do, I'm there for you. I care for you. So we could say that is spiritual love. Krishna's love for us is unconditional in the sense that even when we forget him, even when we reject him, still Krishna stays in our hearts and cares for us. So in that sense, Krishna's love is unconditional. But there is another level of complexity to this, that love, for it to be meaningful, to be transformational, has to be both conditional and unconditional. Now, what do I mean here by this conditional and unconditional? Say, even consider normal parents. Should parents' love for their children be conditional or unconditional? Now, we may say unconditional, that the parents should always love their children. Well, okay, that's true. At the same time, it is the parents who have to discipline the child. The parents have to train the child. The parents have the child to get the child to grow up. You have to become responsible. You have to study. You have a big future before you. And we have to prepare you for the future. And sometimes, if a child does not behave properly, the parents may have to withhold certain privileges. Oh, you did this, therefore you are grounded now. So that is a part of discipline, and that's required. So so we can say that the same principle applies to Krishna also. Krishna loves us as we are, and he loves us too much to let us stay as we are. To let us stay as we are. Krishna loves us even now. He's there in our hearts right now. He's concerned about us right now. At the same time, he wants us to grow. He wants us to evolve. He wants us, our consciousness, to expand, to become enriched with his remembrance. And that's why sometimes he pushes us. So in that case, say if the parents are setting some conditions, you have to fulfill this, then you can do this. You study, and then you can go and play. You want to watch TV, but first do this reading. That's conditions. Now, is that self-centered? Not necessarily. So we could, now that's why there's a limitation of vocabulary over here. I may care for you, and that's why also I might set some conditions for you. And those conditions are for your own well-being. But sometimes I may care for you, not just because I want my child to have a bright future, but that if my child doesn't have a bright future, then I will be disgraced in society. And that is my concern. So then it could become self-centered. So it's subtle. We have to be introspective, look at our consciousness, and understand what is our driving principle. So based on that, what it is that drives us in a relationship? Based on that, we can say what is material and what is spiritual. So if our concern is for the other person's well-being, then that is selfless, and that is close to spiritual. If our concern is only for what the other person is doing for us, then that is material, and that is self-centered. Does it answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, it was nice class. Thank you for giving this class. So I have a question on that rasa bar chart which you showed. So in that chart, you say that dasya rasa, it contains attachment as well as service
Yes,
attitude.
correct.
And similarly, when you go to up, like in the Madhurya Rasa, we get all the 4 elements. So if that is the case, my mind says that, so, instead of, going for Dasya mood, why can't we go for, the Madhurya, so that we'll get all the rasas? But why it says that we are eligible for only Dasya? We should think for Dasya only, not for Madhurya.
Oh, okay. Now, if Madhurya has the fullest, richest experience of love, then why is it said that we should aspire for Dasya, not for Madhurya? Well,
Right.
okay, there's a difference between Dasya Rasa and Dasya Bhava, or Dasya itself. So, what is the difference? When we use the word Dasya Rasa, we are referring to the eternal flavor of a devotee's relationship with Krishna. Madhurya Rasa refers to the eternal flavor of the devotee's relationship with Krishna. On the other hand, when we're talking about dasya bhava is service attitude. Service attitude is required in every relationship. And if without service attitude, if we try to jump to a higher level, it can backfire. Now, there are a group of devotees who are called sahajiyas, and they are sentimentalists, and sometimes they can become sentimental extremists. What do I mean by sentimental extremists? Sometimes they imitate Krishna's Rasa Leela, and they're thinking that we are experiencing Madhurya Bhav. In fact, they go to the extreme where they say a man and a woman might engage in unrestricted sexual activity, unrestrained sexual activity, and then they claim that actually it is Radha and Krishna who are entering into us and they are enjoying through us. That is a horrendous misconception. Radha and Krishna do not need our fleshly bodies, which are subject to deterioration and so many other. They smell and they do so many substances come out of it. They don't need these bodies for their divine relationship. So what if they have not developed that service seva bhav? Then all this, that idea that I will be at an advanced level and I want to be at that level, that can lead to distortion. So as far as we are concerned right now, we focus on trying to connect with Krishna in a mood of service. And what is our swarupa, that will be revealed eventually. So it's not that we shouldn't aspire for madhurya ras. That is the highest, and we want to relish that, we want to appreciate that. But the point is that trying to jump to that without developing the dasya bhav will be premature. Because Radha Krishna's relationship can seem just like an ordinary male-female relationship. So dwelling on that, hearing those pastimes, can actually agitate us, and it may trigger our sensual desires. So till I earlier talked about love and lust. So now we could say lust is self-centered. That means I need the other person so that I can be sensually stimulated. So then what may happen is sometimes we may hear about Radha Krishna pastimes so that we feel stimulated, but that stimulation is not devotional. That stimulation might be sensual. So to the extent service attitude comes in, then to that extent, that sensual stimulation part will go down. So when we talk about seva bhav, we are talking primarily about the transformation of lust into love. And once that transformation has happened, then when we hear about the Radha Krishna pastimes, then we will be naturally attracted toward them. We will be devotionally attracted toward them. And whatever is our swarupa we will attain that eventually. So Prabhupada would say that first deserve, then desire. What that means is that first we get the level of deserving to enter into Krishna's pastimes with having some basic freedom from sensuality. And then our desires, as they are spiritual, they will be manifested and fulfilled by Krishna. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhu.
So, thank you. So shall we stop here?
No,
It's already...
I
No?
have a question.
Okay. Humble obeisances. Yeah.
Anyway, it was a very nice class. I don't understand one thing. Well, maybe there's a lot of things I don't understand, but there's one thing I don't understand that I remember. You're saying how we care for someone and then we have a need. I don't see how you can care for someone unless you have some relationship. Now, I can think of ways you care for someone. There's a car accident and you go and help somebody. You're caring for them. But then where's the need? You know, it's like, and then I'd like if you could give some kind of a practical or mundane example of how, where you care for someone and then you get the need.
Okay. See, this is basically a universalized application of the verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it talks about the difference between lust and love, where it says that Atmendriya Priti Ichha, Atmendriya Priti Vacha, Tare Bole Kam, Krishnendriya Priti Ichha, Dhare Premanam. So Atmendriya Priti Vancha, if I am desiring the gratification of my own senses, that is defined as lust. And conversely, how is love defined? It's quite a revolutionary definition. It's Krishnendriya Priti Ichha Dhare Premana. So now it says that satisfying the senses of Krishna is love, which is very interesting because the Chaitanya Charitamrita says Krishna has senses and a devotee wants to satisfy the senses of Krishna. And that is what is called as love. So when Radharani, she came to know that Krishna is coming to their house. This was the first visit, but Krishna came again later also. Then when she wanted to feed Krishna, and Kirtida said that no, actually we are going to have a big feast. And you are so young. She was just in her teens at that time. You are so young. You will not be able to cook. Radharani said, no, I want to cook for you, Krishna. I want to cook for Krishna. He didn't say specifically cook for Krishna because it was like a traditional family. So they don't publicly express their attraction for each other, at least in the presence of their elders. She said, I want to cook for their whole family. So she insisted on that. So because she cared, so she had a need to do something for Krishna. And when she did something for Krishna, naturally she expects that maybe Krishna should appreciate the food. And if Krishna somehow feigns and acts as if the food is not good, it's like her heart breaks over there. So the point is that when there is, so that is the definition of lust and love in relationship with Krishna. That when is it love? When our primary center is satisfying Krishna. And when is it lust? When the primary center is satisfying ourselves. So we could broadly expand that and apply that in relationship with others also. So we could say that when is it love? When it is our primary center is on satisfying the other person, caring for the other person. So consider, now Srila Prabhupada would say that the nearest we get to selfless love in the material world is, say, a mother's love for a child, and especially a mother's love for a newborn child. A newborn child actually can't do anything for the mother. And among all species, the human species alone has their progeny so helplessly dependent on them. There are some species where the bird just hatch the eggs and they go away. And the birdlets come out of the eggs and they start flapping around and flying. Not much is required. But human babies are helpless, not just for a few moments or a few days or a few weeks, but for several years. If they're not cared for, they can't survive. So in that situation, what is happening is, we could say that if we take care and need in terms of, say, what I do for the other person and what the other person does for me. So then, in a practical sense, the baby doesn't do anything for the other person, for the mother. The mother has to do everything for the baby. But in doing that, the mother expresses love, the mother experiences love, and the relationship deepens. So for Krishna, if we consider Krishna and Radharani, or Krishna and the gopis at large, the gopis, they wanted to be with Krishna so that they could serve Krishna. Now, of course, they wanted Krishna to smile at them, to reciprocate with them. But their primary concern was, Krishna, we want to serve you. And that's why the Chaitanya Charitamrita said that when Krishna left Vrindavan, the gopis could have immediately left their bodies. They didn't want to live. But they were concerned that Krishna has promised, I'll come back. And when he comes back, and if he sees we are not there to serve him, then he will feel bad. And therefore, for his sake, we will live. And we'll wait each day, preparing everything we can for his service, hoping that he will come. So in that sense, if we consider that I care for you, say a mother cares for her baby, and that's why she needs the baby to be there. So now, your point was about how does the relationship start? Well, it can start in any way. So if Prabhupada went to the West and he cared for people, means that whoever came, he talked with them. The devotees who met Prabhupada, they often felt that Prabhupada gave them such attention and affection that they felt as if they were the most important person for Prabhupada. Prabhupada was like that when he would meet them. So he cared for them, and he couldn't care for them if they would not come to meet him, if he couldn't attend to them. Prabhupada would serve them food. But over a period of time, he also expected certain amount of reciprocation, because that reciprocation would indicate their growth. So rather than seeing this as a rigid differentiation between care and need, we want relationships to grow naturally. And in the relationships grow, it's not that we are constantly microanalyzing. Is it this relationship self-centered? Is this relationship the other person centered? No, we have the relationship, and we try to act in that relationship naturally, normally, but we try to make sure that it is overall, it's in a way that is uplifting for both people, and ultimately it's uplifting. This is just a framework for understanding that the difference is, so if it is for my satisfaction, so instead of using the word need and care, so I care for you and I want to satisfy you. But if you're not here, how can I satisfy you? So if Krishna is not in Vrindavan, if he's in Mathura or Dwarka, Radharani, she cannot cook and offer food to Krishna. So she cares for Krishna and she wants to say cook and offer food to Krishna. That's why she needs Krishna to be there. She's not there, what can she do? So if that term care and need is confusing, we can use the same terms which are used in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that is it about primarily satisfying the other person or satisfying ourselves? And again, these two are not entirely like black and white categories. Sometimes when the other person is satisfied, we also feel satisfied by that. But what is the primary thrust? Does that address your question?
Yes, it was just that I think the word need was confusing for me. I mean, the way you just explained it is perfect. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any other comments you have, or anything you would like to add?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
This is Madhav Kanta. May I ask one question, Prabhuji?
Yes. I don't know your schedule. How much time do we have? I'm available, but you let me know.
We can go on for a few more minutes, I think.
Sure, thank you.
So, Prabhuji, my question is now is actually centered around the love between a child and his parents. So again, when I say child, meaning and parents, it's like adult child and the aged parents. Okay. That's what my question is centered around. So I know for Shravan, he served his parents physically with love. And especially I see like Indian, say engineers, especially my case, who come to US and parents stay still in India. Now, and the only way we can be in physical touch is only once in a year or once in 2 years when the same child visits India, right? So now the question is over the, so this, you are away with physically for a long time, and and if you want to serve with love, how to do that practically? One thing that in my mind is usually over the phone, when you speak regularly with your parents, then you can talk more about Krishna Katha or something that is happening in your temple. That is what my understanding is. But Prabhuji, if you have any guidance how to bring Krishna with that distant communications, and again, if the parents are not in ISKCON or Krishna consciousness, how can we build that or get that love if we are really caring for them? So that's the question, Prabhuji.
Okay, there's a lot over there. I'll try to answer briefly. Firstly, we needn't, we live in a complicated world, and that's why we cannot apply standards, say from a previous generation to this generation. So for example, Prabhupada would sometimes say that, in a Gurukul, unless the Guru calls the disciple to have food, the disciple would not even have food. But that's not the way the Guru-disciple relationship is ever going to function in today's world. So there is a, we could say with respect to dharma, there is a universal aspect to it and there is a contextual aspect to it. So the contextual application is, it will vary from place to place, person to person, deshikala patra. Dharmagya Bhishma Pitama is referred to in the Bhagavatam. When he is on an arrow bed and he can't move, so he offers his obeisances to the sages simply by tilting his head a little bit. So now in this case, there is, okay, I can see if I can find a diagram here. So basically, that if we are relating with our parents, there are three aspects, three dynamics in that relationship. There is our relationship with Krishna, there is our relationship with them, and then there is their relationship with Krishna. So I'm just sharing my screen. So can you see this now? So this is Krishna, this is
Yes,
we,
Prabhuji.
and this is the other person. So now this could be even in the closer family, like we are in a family, the spouse, the partner might not be practicing bhakti or not practicing bhakti as much as we are practicing. So basically, ideal would be that in all these three relationships, say that person is also connected with Krishna, we are also connected with Krishna, and everything moves on wonderfully. So concord is the best. Then when we relate with them also, we can talk about Krishna, they can talk about Krishna, and it becomes very enriching. But sometimes if they are not so much interested in Krishna, then if we cannot have concord, then we can have some level of compartmentalization. That means that this is my relationship with Krishna. So, okay, where is this? With the pointer. So one is my relationship with Krishna, and I will focus on that and do what is required in that. But then, as much as possible, I'll also take care of the second relationship, whatever it is. Sometimes what happens is that we worry too much about the third relationship. Third is their relationship with Krishna. And if we pressure them too much for this relationship, and if we try to bring this into every interaction with them, then that creates a strain. And when that strain comes up, then the second relationship also, our relationship with them, becomes weakened. And then sometimes when the strain in that comes up, then we can't even relate with Krishna properly, because we are thinking about all that in our chanting, we're thinking about that in our other times. So that disrupts us. So we can keep these three. Third relationship, their relationship with Krishna, is actually dependent on their free will. So sometimes when we just categorize relationships as material and spiritual, it is not necessarily a very complete classification. Because even in material, there is sattva, rajas, tamas. There's goodness, passion, and ignorance. So we can, within the material, even if we call it material, we can connect with others at a human level. At a human level, where we, it's not just a generic human interest, it's a close family connection. So then we connect with them at a human level, and whatever are their interests, their concerns, their needs, we talk about them. And whenever appropriate, we can bring Krishna in, but don't make this second relationship conditional to the third relationship. Sometimes it might not happen. Now, just keep one going on and keep two also going on as much as you can. And in some cases, say, if we are in America, generally what I have seen in the West for devotees, their social life and their spiritual life are more or less the same. So in that sense, there are not so many other relationships, and they can focus more on Krishna Bhakti. But if you go back to India, then we have a social life with not just our parents, but our entire extended family, other friends. And then that might affect, in trying to expand two, that might affect one. So we don't want to, as much as possible, we keep one and we keep two also. And as far as caring for our parents, Yes, staying in touch by phone with them, maybe having staying in touch with, if they have any caregivers over there, staying in touch with the caregivers. We live in a practical world. We live in a, as I said, a very difficult world, or a very different world from what was traditionally there, and we can't apply the traditional norms in any situation. For that matter, mostly we have, with respect to husband wife also, quite often the wife also works. Of course, in the tradition also, women used to work sometimes. We have the flower seller, the fruit seller. She was working when she came to Krishna's place. The gopis also go out and sell butter and other things. So reality is complex. Sometimes, say, we have the example, if there is one king and he has multiple sons, and then he may divide the kingdom between the sons. If you divide, then the other sons are not going to be with the king. Then what do you do at that time? So we can't have a idealized vision of things and just always feel guilty because we are not living up to the ideal. In the practical situation that we are in, we try to do the best that we can. And sometimes, if we just talk with our parents regularly, or talk with the other person regularly, we may think that this is what I want to do for you. But is it really what they want from us? Sometimes what they need from us may be different from what we perceive as their need. Sometimes they may be happy that we are well settled in America, and that is a matter of, say, social pride and social prestige for them. And if we come back to India, we might be physically closer, but that might fulfill one need, but there's another need also. India is we are very community centered. So the perception in the community and all that also matters. So if we just talk with them, generally we can understand the other person's need by two ways. Now, what is it that if we do, they appreciate a lot? And what is it if we don't do, they complain? So by that, we try to understand what are their needs and try to address them in whatever way is most effectively possible for us. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That was really helpful. Can I ask a quick technical question, Prabhu? Madhurya Ras is also referred to as Shringara Ras. Why is it referred to with two names?
Well, Madhurya and Shringara are okay. It's a little complicated. There are different traditions of thought. So Shringara at one level means decoration.
Yes.
Shringar, like we have Shringar Arti. That is the time in the morning that Lord is dressed and decorated. So now we could do Shringar for various purposes. But generally, Shringar is most associated with the male-female relationship. That people try not to look good. We may want to look good when we go for a job interview. We want to look good when we go out in public in general. But most often, Shringar comes in most prominently in the male-female relationship. And so Shringar in Natya, so Shringar literally means decoration, but Shringar in Natya, Natya Shastra and other things by Bharat Muni is a book which Rupa Goswami refers to when he writes Bhakti Sam Sindhu. There he associates Shringar primarily with Madhurya, with the relationship between the male and female. And so while Shringar means decoration, it secondarily has come to mean what is done and what is experienced in the male-female relationship. So that's how Madhurya is also referred to as Shringar. So Rupa Goswami generally uses the word Madhurya Ras only, but there are other contexts in which it is also referred to as Shringara Ras. Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Mati Radha Rani ki jai.
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Anande.
His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
I think you
Hare
really
Krishna, Pyari Mohan Prabhu, humble obeisances.
accept my obeisance. You did a wonderful job, especially in answering the questions. Were really, really, really good. Thank you so much.
Yes, Prabhu.
Please come again.
Oh, Prabhu, I'll be happy to come. Prabhu, if you are free, I'll just call you on phone. We can talk for a few minutes.
Yes.
So I'll just call you after we finish this call.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Naveen Krishna
Hare
Prabhu,
Hare
Ramatirtha Prabhu. Wonderful to see all of you.
Prabhuji. Thank you so much for
Hare
all of
Krishna,
you.
Prabhu. So happy to see you.
Hare Krishna.
Miss you this year.
Hare Krishna,
Yes, I
Chaitanya
am also.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Happy Radhastami, Prabhu.
Hare Hare, humble obeisance, Jai. So how
Prabhu,
is
I
your
don't
Shloka
mean to.
recitation going? Narhari? I shared your videos with some people here. They were amazed.
Is it? Thank you, Prabhu.
There's one devotee kid who actually seeing you giving a class. That devotee is a 10-year-old. He memorized the whole Bhagavad Gita and he has started giving classes now.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I don't mean to put you on a spot, but would your schedule allow joining one day for a longer Q&A session? Maybe we can have like a slightly shorter class and then a long QA session. Looks like there was a lot of interest during the question answer time.
Yes, yes. My dream class is no class, only question answers.
Yes, Prabhu. It's also my dream. It's also my dream.
Yeah, certainly.
Prabhu, we will have Ganpati Govind Prabhu and Raga Sindhu Prabhu coordinate the timings with you, and perhaps one Saturday we can do that.
Yes, certainly, Mataji.
Okay.
Mataji. How are you doing
Thank you.
otherwise?
We're doing okay, Prabhu. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Take care. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Krishna.
Dandavat pranam.
Dandavat.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I will touch base with you, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, for
Haribol, Ramatirtha Prabhu. Things are fine there?
excellent, Prabhu. Everything is going well. Regarding our communication, I will follow up with you after some time.
Sure,
For Columbus. Yeah, thank
So
you.
you
Prabhu.
usually join for the Connecticut class or this time you joined specifically?
No,
Sri is more forwarded to me.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
That's how I came to know.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Leave.